Hey there, everybody out there in podcast world. Welcome to a super extraordinarily special edition of FNO InsureTech. This is special, isn't it, Lee?
It's very special. Why is it so special, Rob?
It's special because I have a question for you.
Okay, what is that?
And that is, Lee, what are you doing this year, September 23rd to 25th?
I am doing the same thing that I've done the past 2 years, and that is go to InsureTech Connect in Las Vegas.
Really? At the MGM Grand in Las Vegas?
I am. That is the plan.
Wow.
What about you, Rob?
Well, I think I'm going to be there too. That's a funny coincidence. We should maybe have lunch while we're there.
We probably ought to, hang out.
I bet we will. Why is that so exciting and special, Lee?
Well, InsureTech is like the conference to go to. And I don't know if you know this or not, but our podcast is actually about InsureTech. We talk about technology.
I did not know that.
I didn't think you did. We talk about technology surrounding insurance. And so why not go to the largest InsureTech convention out there?
And hopefully it'll teach me what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah, maybe you can learn something.
It may be too late.
Well, I think today we will have an opportunity to learn why all of our listeners ought to go out to this conference.
And why? Why is today different than any other day?
Today we have the two guys who are running this entire thing. We have Jay and Caribou. They're going to be on, and they're going to be giving us a little lesson into how this conference started, you know, where it's gone, and then what to look forward to next year.
That's right. We have Caribou Honig, who generously was on an early episode of our podcast, and his partner, Jay Weintraub, who's the CEO of InsureTech Connect. And these two guys dreamt this up, brought it to market, and the success has been phenomenal, a runaway success.
Yeah.
And they're generously going to be with us today to talk about all things InsureTech Connect, including some 2019 preview.
Right. Very exciting to talk to them.
Very exciting. So we will not goof around any longer, and we'll move right into our ITC InsureTech Connect pre-2019 preview episode with Jay Weintraub and Caribou Honig. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this very special edition of FNO InsureTech, where we are going to preview ITC InsureTech Connect 2019. And who better to do it with than our very, very, very special guests today, Mr. Jay Weintraub and Mr. Caribou Honig. Hi, guys. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Welcome, guys. Welcome.
Where do we find you both today? Jay, where are you?
I'm in New York City, in the Flatiron District.
Oh, nice. And Caribou?
I am in Richmond, Virginia, which is where I normally reside and often work.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. So let's jump right in and talk about how you guys kind of came to InsureTech Connect and how you guys got connected. I'm sure there's a story there. Can you take us back to the beginning of it?
Yeah, I'd be delighted to. So it really arose, like many great things, out of a real life need. So about 4 years ago, I was in the venture capital side of things, putting most of my focus actually on the InsureTech space. And I was looking for a good industry conference to go to where I'd be able to compare notes with other investors and meet with the entrepreneurs building the next generation of insurance kind of businesses and the innovation executives from the carriers and reinsurers and brokers. And I couldn't really find anything at the time. So I said, I kind of need this to exist for my day job. So maybe I should try to create it. Of course, I had no idea how to create something like that. But fortunately, one of the people in my firm that I worked with knew Jay from past life and knew about Jay's great experience of building events, bringing people together. And so we were introduced through that. And it was really delightful because when he and I first started talking about it, I don't think Jay knew all the context and why I was trying to get in touch with him.
Zero.
And so he starts telling me about his background and things he's done and how he's really excited about this new project he's got around building an event focused on insurance. And I'm like, well, Jay, I think we're either going to have a really short conversation or a really long conversation, because I'm also really interested in trying to create something, bringing people together around insurance. But either we're going to find we want to do this together, or if we find that we don't, then we should probably stop talking pretty soon. Lucky for me, I'm sort of the Ringo Starr of the show. Lucky for me, Jay liked what I had in mind as well, and I got the chance to sort of influence Jay's mindset around it a little bit and work with him on it. So it really just started with, I need this to exist, so let's try to make it happen.
Is that what you remember, Jay?
That sounds
Does that sound right?
absolutely incorrect. I would like to think that it was.
I thought so.
No, it was actually exactly what happened, and it was. I remember being introduced to him and being so excited to tell him about this great conference that I wanted to start in insurance, and it was like, well, hold on before you go too far. And luckily, we're here together. We all know the punchline. It's been an amazing, kind of 4 years together. Couldn't be, kind of more excited at the way things have turned out.
So if he's Ringo Starr, what are you?
Yeah, I'm actually really curious. Caribou, who am I? Because I'm.
Oh, you're
Brian Epstein?
No. He's probably Paul McCartney. There's a little bit of John Lennon in there, but he's probably Paul McCartney.
I like that.
That's pretty nice.
I like that.
I thought you might say he's Billy Idol, only because it was a good plug for this year's talent. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, Billy Idol.
That's right.
That's right.
Well, it's
one of us is salt, the other's pepper. We'll let people use their imagination.
Yeah. We were there last year. We saw that. We saw you guys on stage. So whatever the case may be, it's been a pretty amazing high-speed journey from that first meeting just a few years ago, right? Up till now. I mean, just run us through quickly the history of ITC, and so you met, you got started, and you thought, well, maybe we can get a few hundred people, and then what happened?
And then more than a few hundred came. So we met, and I think the timeline was, I think Caribou and we probably met first introduced in August of 2015. I think we had come to a consensus and were ready to sort of pull the trigger by later in 2015. And it was early January or early February where the first iteration of the website, kind of came about. And we both, sort of felt that we had a sense that if a certain group of people came together, if the incumbent insurance industry, if the investors, and the entrepreneurs from across the world, if we could get the right number of them and the right quality together, there should be something special there. And it was one of those where, is it going to be 500? Is it going to be 1,000? And you know what? It was an amazing, I don't know if it was so much of a surprise or if it was, but to see that about 1,500 came together in that first year was great. It was fantastic. And that number, as we entered into our second year, went to 3,500. Last year was almost 6,000. So it has, as you say, it has been. There's been quite the growth story where we've been really fortunate to reflect the immense interest in and around the kind of innovation and transformation of insurance as a whole. Bringing
it together is really a bit of a chicken and the egg, because you've got to have the investor community to bring it together. You've got to have the incumbents, right, and the senior executives from the industry come together, and you've got to have the entrepreneurs who are pushing the limits and pushing the thinking across the industry. Sometimes Jay and I debate a little bit about, which is the chicken, which is the egg, which is the chicken feed, like which do you need to come first? But at the end of the day, what's crucial is you do need to get a critical mass of all three of those communities together into one place, and that's where the magic happens. And then actually we've started to discover, particularly in this past year, last year's show, drawing the regulatory community into the conversation as well. We had regulators from what I think 30 states represented. And obviously the regulators are so important, and they are hungry to be part of the conversation. And I find that bringing them in as sort of the fourth pillar of the community that we bring together really adds so much to the conversations.
I remember a slide that Caribou had, and I think it was in the second year, where it was sort of, first time we'd had, multiple regulators together, and it was sort of, hug a regulator. I never thought I would say that I love regulators, but I will admit that in the insurance industry, to see the regulatory community and the fact that they are, advocates for creating better products and advocates for, sort of serving the community better, and this sort of recognition that by making sure the sort of the startups understand and are sort of supported versus kind of combative has been, I think, a real amazing thing overall, not just for us but for the industry. So
one of the insights that we've had about your conference is when we're getting ready for this episode, we went on the website to look at what the agenda is going to be, who's going to be there, whatnot, and a lot of that is forthcoming. It's not on the website yet. And what we realized is that in a lot of conferences have to advertise, this is who's coming, this is our topic for this year, this is our agenda, this is the fun you have to look forward to. But your conference is influential just in and of itself. It kind of has a life of its own. Do you guys view it that way?
I like your interpretation, because otherwise I think you're just calling me a procrastinator, which may be true.
No.
Well, this is where I give Caribou a lot of credit too. We talk about people are our products. So we take a very people-centric approach. We spend, I would say, we probably do 300, 400 phone calls with various parts of the, of the ecosystem to understand, the themes. We look at it as our job to be, if we do it right, we're a mirror. And so when people will look at what we do, they say, this is what's on my mind. This is who I want to meet. So, we don't view our job as, let me tell you what you should be thinking. We instead view it as, how do we make sure that we represent exactly, kind of what collectively is on your mind. And so, that process for us is many, many months, sort of in the making. And I would say, related to that, our event, and I think part of its success is that it's a place that it is your conference. It is everyone who's listening. It's not ours. It's yours, and that's probably the thing that we care about the most, is making sure that you say, yes, this is for me. Like, it feels like it's yours, and as opposed to you're going to someone else's.
Yeah, I love that. And to echo what Rob's saying is that we go to InsureTech. This will be our third year this year, and we don't go to InsureTech just because a certain person is there. We know that we're going to get so much information and so much thought out of the conference that it's just well worth it. And it is one of those industry conferences that you go to. The organizations, the individuals in the industry, we go to that conference because we're going to do business there. We're going to learn what's out there. We're going to learn where the industry is moving. It really is a great place just to connect with each other, to network, and to get a lot out of it. So kudos to building that. I think that's really hard work is paying off.
Well, thank you. I only want to be part of creating a conference that I actually want to go to.
Smart.
Love that.
And quite honestly, there aren't many conferences that I want to go to, right? One of our sort of core principles, core objectives, is making sure that it's set up as a place where business actually gets done, right? And, look, sometimes people hear, oh, there's an event in Vegas, right? And they think boondoggle, right?
Right.
We
Sure.
choose Vegas for a lot of reasons around things like infrastructure and ability to handle a big tent event like this. But what's really so important is that when people leave the event after 2.5 exhausting days, that they have new business connections, often leading to a new investment deal or a new partnership or a new commercial transaction, that they've got their eyes opened to some new ideas that maybe they hadn't been thinking about previously. Right? There's really many ways to get value out of an industry event. Right? There's the learning from the people on stage, but there's also the meeting with people that you know already, and it just becomes very efficient when everyone converges in the same location, so you don't have to do 20 flights to meet with 20 people. And then there's the serendipity, right? Getting to connect with people at the lunch table or in one of the networking hours who you didn't know, and you didn't even know that you wanted to meet them, but you do find them, and then business gets done. Right? We've got a whole sort of agenda around we met at ITC, and how do we support people meeting at ITC and having deals get done as a result.
Jay, you spoke, several times last year about that this conference is for you and it's about you, and I think that's a great insight. That's exactly correct, because I think that regardless of which of those pillars that Caribou spoke about earlier, which perspective you're coming from, there's you can tailor the conference into something that's exciting for you. It's not it's not being dictated. It's like here's this big candy store. Go ahead and choose which candies you want for yourself.
Yeah. And I was going to say either that, or I apparently am really good at building a conference that Caribou wants to attend.
Well, you are.
Well, Caribou does come.
That is true. He is
there.
He does enjoy it. So.
He looks like he's having a good time.
It's a new excuse for a fedora.
I have a great time when I attend, and I continue to abuse my position as co-founder to scrape a few minutes as the opening to speak to the audience. We'll see how long Jay lets me continue to do that.
So let's take one step back, and I probably should have done this at the top, but talk about give our audience, in case they don't know, which of course they do, but what is InsureTech Connect? Give us the 30-second or 2-minute elevator on InsureTech Connect.
Well, I think there's what is it in the sense that, yes, it is the world's largest gathering of insurance, innovation, and transformation. It is a place where thousands of insurers will gather, investors and entrepreneurs, as well as other key stakeholders from the ecosystem. It is, as Caribou said, it is 2.5 days. It is September 23rd through 25th. There are long form, small group sessions. There are sort of the arena feel, sort of content. There's a very large networking expo hall. But, what is it really? It's a chance to, I would say, it's a chance to be inspired. Insurance is one of these industries that is, it is a service industry that is rarely called upon, when things are going well. And yet it is a critical function in everything. We think about from where I sit today, I couldn't do what I do without insurance being present, to what is going to happen if we want to go to the moon or Mars or launch new colonies, flying cars. Insurance is the underpinning of all of this. And so at some point we need a moment to say, both what is happening today and what is possible in the future. And realizing that, yes, in our day-to-day lives, we have a role to play, but for both ourselves, for the companies, for the industry to truly be what it can be, it's about making sure that those walls, that help us be in our lane on the day, are down for a little bit of time, so we can look around and kind of figure out what is possible and, who is going to help us do what we need to do better. So being that place where you go to get, both connected and inspired, that's what we think of when we think of ITC.
I love that. I think that is a great way to put it. And, every year your conference gets better and better. Every year you add to it, it grows. And I'm curious, what are some lessons learned, or what are some takeaways from last year that you want to improve on this year, change, or maybe keep with?
Yeah, so I'll start there, and I think Jay will chime in as well. So one of the things that I really enjoyed from last year, and I'm biased here, but I spent a decade on the fintech side of things, and I think that insurtech and fintech are related to each other, but are distinct. I don't lump insurtech as being part of fintech. But we had Ken Lin, the CEO and founder of Credit Karma, one of the real success stories of fintech. He was one of our main stage speakers this past year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the audience sort of found it interesting to begin with. He was telling the story about how Credit Karma grew to 80 million users and all that. But I think you could hear a pin drop in the audience once he started talking about the launch of an auto insurance product.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Yes.
On Credit Karma.
Yeah.
It was noticeable.
And so I think that one of the broader themes we'll see, not just at InsureTech Connect, not just this past year, but I think one of the broader themes over the next 5 or 10 years will be the successful fintech companies expanding into InsureTech and some of the tech titans, right? Whether domestic companies like an Amazon or a Google, or from abroad like a Naspers or a Rakuten or Alibaba. I think seeing the tech titans start to really make serious moves into the insurance industry as well. And I think that's something which is important for the industry, whether you're on the insurance side or the insurtech side. And only the drumbeat's only going to increase on that. So the more we can highlight that, provide examples, have involvement from companies that are real companies, but maybe don't fit the traditional insurance category, I think is very interesting too.
Mm-hmm. Jay?
I mean, I certainly am going to agree, even though Caribou and I were having an exchange, sort of this morning about, boy, we need more disagreement on our stage. And so I feel like my job then now is to say, yeah, it's like I disagree completely. That was terrible. No, it was great having Ken win. We certainly will, have some disagreements about the role of big tech. I remember talking to someone the other day, and we're sort of playing the who's the biggest insurtech or who's the best example of insurtech, and someone goes Lyft, and you're like, wait, why Lyft? And it was if you look at the articles written during the roadshow, they're essentially an insurance company. Like instead of being sort of going to the sort of partnerships with the classic channel, they are essentially an insurance company that also just happens to do rideshares. So, I think some of the intriguing thought exercises are around and what many people are considering about the role of the insurer going forward. Is it a products business? Should it be more of a services business? And how are people going to get access to the products, sort of going forward? Is it going to be that it's embedded in something that you're doing a la Lyft? And we don't know, but that's also what kind of makes it interesting to sort of think about, because we know that how people are going to buy insurance is changing when we know what they are going to buy is also changing.
There's also an undercurrent and has been around talent and culture and how critical that is for innovation, again, both within the incumbent industry and among the startups, and what that looks like, whether it's a talent or culture focused on risk management in an incumbent, or how to do proper risk taking at a startup. But I think that the conversation around talent and culture, while it's always been a conversation in the C-suite, I think that we're going to have more and more of those conversations percolating throughout the InsureTech conversation. So I look forward to that piece as well.
Yeah, and I will jump onto that for a second and say that one of the unexpected surprises, which is what you always hope for when you start something, you have a vision in mind, and then you have a whole bunch of unexpected surprises. And one of that here is realizing that InsureTech as a movement has been a way to draw a whole new generation of people to this industry and to work on it.
Yes. I was on a call yesterday with a young man, 25 years old, genius software engineer who's involved in a startup in the insurtech space. And I'll just make a long story short, that he's a kid. He's 25 years old, but a young man, super smart, super motivated, had a lot of great ideas for his company and what they're doing. And that kind of vigor and excitement is new to this space. I mean, Lee and I are industry veterans. We've been in, Lee's been in insurance essentially his whole career. I've been in it for over 20 years. And we're just not used to this kind of excitement.
Right.
It's that was one of the most remarkable things for me about when I went to ITC the first time was it's exciting. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is the insurance industry. Where's the boredom room? Right?
Oh, good idea. We're going to create the boredom room this year. Hold on. There you go.
You need to do that. I mean, the biggest problem I had at InsureTech last year was you had too many sessions going on at the same time that I wanted to be in.
Good problem to have.
That just means you need to send more people from the organization. Have full coverage.
Look at that. Look at that.
Maybe if we can get one of those coupon codes.
I think you're talking to some people that may know some people that could make something happen there.
Now that could help.
Yeah.
That could help.
We're downstream in the InsureTech continuum. We're users. We're working with carriers and using products. And that was what was exciting for us last year is we got to go and we got to see, I mean, the ideas were great and the thinking was great. And there was a lot of high level, but I sat in one conversation that was about one session that was about the right way and the wrong way of doing a pilot, basically. And we're very involved with pilots. We're running them all the time simultaneously with several carriers. And so to have an opportunity to get plugged into exciting conversations with new thinking, not just insurance thinking, but like you were saying earlier, from other pillars, from other directions. That's what I love about your comment.
Thank you. And I think that highlights the context is so important at an event like this. So you can bring the same collection of people together. And if the context is not set up correctly, where the mindset going in is this is an opportunity to see what's possible, to see what other people, other organizations are actually doing, trying, succeeding at, failing at, right? This is an opportunity where the other people there want to actually find vendors, find partners, get deals set up, right? Without that context, right, I think it would fall flat. But somehow or other, Jay and team have managed to bring the people together where the context is such that people are ready to be open to new ideas, whether they've been in the insurance industry for 30 years or 30 days. And I think that's part of why so much actually gets done at the event.
Let's focus on 2019 for a few minutes in the time we have left. What can you share with us? What can you excite us, enthrall us, tease us about 2019?
This is the podcast special of, is Jay going to go or is Caribou going to go first? That's the pause. Or the pause is really, that's the tease. Hold on. Okay.
Yeah, that's a big tease.
There you go.
I'm telling you what, I'm standing up now.
Yeah. This is, hey, it's the big reveal. So
you don't have to.
No,
No pressure.
We had no pressure at all. I will say that we can certainly highlight that every year is a little bit, to your point, every year is a little bit, sort of like different. And this year, I think we really want to continue on with this notion of, kind of insurance. What is it really? What's happening in insurance? And so we think about, or the opportunities for people to continue to think about this business and sort of stretch, sort of some of the thinking. So, what we are going to do, for instance, is one of the pairings that we're very excited about is we have Max Simkoff, who's the CEO and founder of States Title, and he'll be joined with Stuart Miller, who's the executive chairman of Lennar. And Lennar is America's largest residential home builder. Yeah.
Home builder.
And what's so interesting is, so last year, not long after ITC, you have an announcement that States Title, which I think at the time was a 35-person company, is acquiring 1,000-person, division of Lennar and their title area. And so it was a very unexpected sort of move for sort of how does an insurtech, sort of both partner with and acquire a company that is vastly, it's superior in size at least. And so, the idea of, I think these big bets being made about the future of insurance and like the roles that it has to play, like that's some of the stuff that I think that, we hope will wow folks around, look at that bet, not just, hopefully having the people that have written some of the most, sort of transformative checks, but the people that are, getting those sort of like, how are they thinking about the product of insurance? And that's why last year it was fun. We, Allianz, people may know of from the Formula E race and the drone racing league, but what they may not know is kind of the company's sort of commitment to, that these sponsorships aren't really branding exercises. They're sort of like mini labs, and how do they work on building insurance products for, kind of like technology. So that was fun last year as we think about an insurer that is clearly thinking about the space, sort of very differently. And so this year, it's sort of how are these big firms where insurance intersects them, what are the bets that they're trying to make, realizing that insurance is actually part of their success ongoing. And as a car buff, I'm super excited. There's we've got Tanya Kufner, who's from the Porsche, has its own kind of arm and its own sort of VC. And I think mobility is something that we all understand. We know that whether it's mobility in the commercial lines and, finally getting those loss ratios under control, or just the fact that what happens now that these city streets are littered with scooters. So this idea that, mobility is still going to play a, sort of this ever-changing role of challenging insurance. So making sure that we have some of the people who are on the the leading edge of mobility, and not just the hypothetical, like what happens when, but what are, because obviously I was shocked when I read that Mercedes and BMW are, essentially doing $1 billion joint venture together. Here have been, consumer, kind of competitors now forming up. So, insurance is in this so interesting intersection because of what it means for some of the biggest, broader trends, as a whole.
I expect a lot of the conversations, whether on stage or particularly around the water coolers at ITC, will focus on who's actually winning, particularly which startups are actually sort of proving out a winning business model, right? That's profitable, scalable, has unit economics that you want, and which are the ones that are waving their hands but not really building that, and which are the ones that, when you get to look under the hood, you say, "Wow, they really are building a great business." Right? And of course, there'll be speculation around that, but the more that there's transparency around it, I think all the better. And certainly, people are going to be intrigued and curious on that topic.
Right. That was one of the things that I was wondering is, do you guys see all of this? Is it maturing? Right? Is it moving forward into a more mature state, or is it just, is it moving out of the garage, if you will?
Absolutely. It is maturing. InsureTech, I am now quite convinced that InsureTech is going to show up with some real success stories, some on the picks and shovels side, right? Startups that are creating tools for the industry, and others which will be sort of full stack InsureTechs, the kind of companies that will themselves serve and own the customer. It may not always be the companies that are in the headlines that are going to be winners. Sometimes it will. But I think there's a lot of really great companies being built today, and actually putting up results and making real traction out there. So I'm optimistic.
Yeah, and I was going to say, what is our job? Our job, besides convening, is that ultimately, our jobs in our industry is better when this happens. So, for us, it is that we have to do that balance of, we all need a little bit of FOMO. We all need a little bit of fear of disruption because it pushes us to do better. And so go too far and it's not helpful. or go too in the weeds and it doesn't, sort of inspire us. So really it's that idea of how do we make sure to keep, what is our North Star? And it's the idea that if we look at, some of even the enabling companies that are just, how do you triage, whether it's claims or just how do you do better triage of, kind of like where does underwriters start? So we need to make sure that just the daily lives get better, but we also need to make sure that people say, look, I like having new talent in here. I like people actually being open to doing testing and to changing. So, what if the end goal is making sure that our lives are better? It's making sure that we can still have those little blends is kind of what probably keeps us up at night more than anything.
Jay loves insurance. I really like insurance. Jay loves insurance.
That's a nice thing.
Cool. So do we, Jay. Jay, you know what? Let's have a podcast and leave Caribou off. We'll leave the likers off and just have one for the lovers.
I set myself up for that.
I took it as a compliment. Yeah, who else would you say to someone, you love insurance? And they go, yes, I do.
Yes.
But it's get back to that conversation I had with a young man yesterday. He basically said the same thing. And that's because you're bringing all kinds of new energy and ideas into a very old established concept, and so there's a lot of excitement in it. And I'm an old guy, but I'm thrilled to be part of what's going on and around it, and enjoy the enthusiasm. And so we're very appreciative for you guys to put it on stage for what you've done. You've done actually a great service.
Thank you. We want the industry, and my apologies, Caribou. I was just going to say we want the industry to have enough control over itself. I mean, we see it whether it's with Lyft or others. This world is changing, and this industry deserves to be able to write its own path of how it wants to help the changing world. And that's sort of, our job in a way, is to try to help in a teeny tiny way to make sure that can happen.
Yeah, Jay and I consider it a privilege to be able to play our small role in helping the industry move forward and adopt the best technology for the customers and for its fulfilling its mission.
With that, we'll sign off, and thank you guys so much for making the time to do this. I know that our audience is super interested, not only in your conference, but what you guys are thinking and planning on. And I thought this was great, and I hope that we can do it again sometime.
Our pleasure.
Thank you very much.